Hey guys, Blue here. So I just wanted to go over Act 5, Chapter 2 a little bit. Just like with Act 5, Chapter 1, some of these lanes and mods are more challenging than in previous missions. Some of the mods are stronger and more beefed up, and we do have a few new mods in this mission, which is pretty cool. And of course, the bosses are more difficult because they're not only stronger than they were before, but they're also on multiple mods because every single mod from each mission is on every boss, and so that makes things trickier. Now obviously if you're a ninja you'll get through this just fine, but I know that a few of these missions have been giving some people problems, so I do want to talk about missions 3 and 4. Mission 3 in particular because that Grimlock boss is pretty crazy, really strong, and a few of those lanes can be difficult. Okay, so when it comes to mission 3, these are the mods that Grimlock is on. He's on 600% melee timed, which is pretty crazy, and armor piercing. So you got to be very careful and time your attacks when these mods are down, because if you're super aggressive and you get tripped up, he could wipe out even a maxed out 5-star bot pretty quickly. He's also on 90% physical resistance and this gain armor buff, which is very similar to the mod that Grinder was on in ROK in the old game, where he has a 6% chance to gain a 70% armor buff, and that buff automatically launches every time you use a special. Now 6% might not sound like much, but it's a chance with every attack. So once you hit him or any bot on that lane a few times, they're going to get those buffs and they can stack them. Which means that if you're not using an armor breaker or a nullify bot, or at least like a really heavy DOT bot on that lane, you're going to basically be doing no damage, right? And so when it comes to the gain armor lane, I would recommend armor breakers and nullifiers in particular. There are other options, but we want to be efficient here. So OGP, OGM, Starscream for sure, Cyclonus, who we do have again, very useful there, as well as Ultra Magnus, right? If I were you, I would bring at least one, maybe even 2 armor breakers, just in case you get into trouble. It does make that lane a lot easier, and it helps against Grim. Same thing with the physical resistance lane, right? I mean, you can use a range-based fighter, but also just having either a heavy DOT bot or an armor breaker will help, okay? When it comes to Grimlock himself, it isn't that bad as long as you time your attacks, right? So, bait him out, avoid him when those melee and armor piercing mods are active, then be aggressive in between. And if you have nullify bots, armor breaking bots, the fights will not be that long, okay? So Grim is very dangerous, but he's very doable as long as you play patiently. Now, the nice thing about this mission that I do want to point out is that we now have 2 more lanes with great long fight potential. So what we used to call punching bag lanes. Okay, because as we all know, we don't have really any difficult content or long fights in the game right now outside of high-level AMs. So since we don't have any LOC type missions, it's very hard to find lanes to test out bots if you want to do some long fights. Up until now, most of us have been doing the few armor lanes we have, like the 90% armor lane in Act 4, Chapter 3. But in this mission, the physical resistance and the gain armor lanes are really great to test out bots, right? If you're not using armor breakers and, really heavy DOT type bots, you bring other bots on those lanes, you're going to get some crazy long fights. So if you're looking for a lane or two to do some testing, those 2 lanes will be very good choices for you, okay? And so when it comes to mission 4, right? So this is the Shockwave boss mission. This one's not that bad, but it's interesting. We got a very beefed up energy resistance timed lane. So he and also all the bots on that lane are not going to be taking any energy damage when the mod is active. And we have this new attack barrier mod, which is pretty interesting. So the bots on that lane, totally immune to basic attacks, all of them. Your power rate increases, but Special 3 is locked, it's disabled, you can't use it. And so it's not that bad, you just have to time your attacks, right? So specials will still do normal amounts of damage. But remember though, if you are using bots with ranged, energy specials, you got to make sure you land them when the energy resistance is down. Otherwise, melee specials will be helpful. So That lane is not too bad, but you just have to make sure that you time your attacks well. Shocky is also on melee bleed, though, so you just have to be careful of that. So that mission, those lanes, like I said, not too difficult, but against Shocky, you just have to have very good timing and play patiently, especially if you are using any ranged or energy-based fighter. So I like this mission too. It's fun to have a new mod, and like I said, having 120% energy resistance is pretty cool as well. It just makes things a little bit more difficult. You have to think things through a little bit more than normal. And so when it comes to the other missions, guys, I mean, the Dirge mission, the Jetfire mission, they're not too bad. There is an unstable Energon lane in mission 2, which is still bugged, unfortunately. It's still doing way more damage than normal. The Starscream mission 5, not too bad, but there's a bunch of, ranged lanes there, so be careful. Soundwave, Jetfire would do very well in mission 5. And then mission 6, the nice thing about it is that it's very short and easy, right? You've only got one bot on each lane before you get to Tronus, who's almost dead. This is actually a copy of one of the missions from Act 4 in the old game, very similar there. But the nice thing is it is easy, and you can get through it super quickly to claim those rewards, okay? And so I hope this has been helpful, guys. Just play very patiently, especially in mission 3 against that Grimlock boss. But otherwise, I hope all of you are well, and we will be in touch again soon. Take care.